All right, Internet. This is either I really love you and I don't really know you, or I am prideful and I have to record this again. And the reason being is that I wasn't able to capture what I wanted to. So we're going to do it again. And the thing that I wanted to capture, I'm going to show you right here, right now. Ready? Here we go. Hopefully you can see my mustache and glasses. Anyways, got a cool pen now, and I wanted to use it. All right, so this video is going to be a little different in comparison to other videos, because a lot of the other videos I tend to do a presentation on a book or report, etc. But in a previous video, I talked about how I wanted to learn more through practice and not just theory. So that's usually consuming something, understanding the idea, and then regurgitating it verbally or in written word to someone, but not applying it to a problem to solve. And that has led me to a very technical path. Very in the sense relative to me, because technical is relative to everyone. So I wanted to pursue things more technically and share videos and things that I've learned. And specifically for my interest and the things I'm wanting to pursue, it really revolves around security and development of code and things like that, and also deeper technical aspects of it. And what I wanted to start with is a few CTFs, because I have recently found myself being slightly obsessed with solving these puzzles, not puzzles, and learning more about how you can incorporate the ideas that you learn through books and reports and courses, and then apply it to an actual practice. So that's either developing an app, a script, or hacking into some stuff and breaking it. And what I'm doing today, what I'm going to walk you through a series of videos, because I definitely won't get it done in one video. I'll probably take a couple. And this is a website called Over the Wire. When I initially found this website, I actually did the first campaign, which is called Bandit, and that really revolves around everything that has to do with the terminal and Linux. But I decided to go to the next one because I finished that one, but I didn't record any of it, but I'm going to record this one, and hopefully the future ones. And the next one I'm going to do is Natas. So Natas is really oriented around the web. Specifically, the first 7 or 8 levels I've done have all revolved around hacking into web pages and things like that, or finding kind of hidden gems inside of those to capture the flag. And the thing I wanted to start out with is I wanted to know what Natas is. So what in the hell does Natas mean? So I Googled it, and I found 3 answers. So one answer is that it's a type of food. So it's one of these little things, or this thingy. I have no idea what that is. Or if it's not that, then I also found an Urban Dictionary. And in the Urban Dictionary, it says that it is Satan's little brother. Who knew Natas was Satan's little brother? And then the last one, and certainly not least, is Natas is apparently an American hip-hop group in Detroit, Michigan. Or the Fallen One, which I think is Satan's little brother, once again. So with that being said, and the creators of this website and this challenge, I'm assuming they meant Satan's little brother, or they may have meant, a rap group in Detroit. Either way. So how does this work? At the very beginning, on level 0, they basically explain to you that you don't necessarily have to use SSH, which is a good thing for the people that don't know how to use it. And you can actually just go to a URL. So the very first URL we're going to go to, and I'm going to walk you through the first 6 or 7 levels. And the important thing here is I'm not going to talk about how cool I am and how fast I can get through these, because in all honesty, I'm going to be as candid, as transparent as possible. I struggled with probably many of them, and I'm going to walk you through all my struggles and hopefully explain some of the things I've learned along those struggles, because I am nowhere near intelligent enough to actually get through this in a fast way. So with that, enough of me insulting myself in front of the world. So let's jump to the first challenge. And this first challenge is basically copying and paste this URL into a browser extension, or a browser, not extension, and they're going to type in this username and password, right? So we're going to do Natas 0, and then we'll paste that again. And then bada bing, bada boom, you have a website. So first things first, it prompts you and says, here's a challenge, figure out what the flag is, basically. And in this challenge, it says that you can find the password from the next level on this page. So if you look around this page, this is not clickable, neither is this. It's all just text and boxes and shadows. But this is, so I've clicked this, and it takes me to a dashboard, which basically shows you a series of people, I'm assuming, that are doing the same challenge. You can see the solvers, etc. So this is kind of an analytics thing, but that's not what we're looking for. So anytime I see something like this, I always tend to want to inspect the page and see what HTML is supporting what I'm seeing here. Because in the end, anytime you look at a web page, it's really just a few things, right? So it's some sort of HTML, right? Some sort of CSS most likely. Probably some sort of JavaScript to add some functions. So this is basically providing the framework. So this is going to be basically the framework, what we're looking at. And the CSS is going to be basically the style sheets. And that's going to show me, how pretty things are. And then the JavaScript's really going to be the function, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to really be JavaScript. That could be probably Python. And then I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff like Rust and other items that could be doing the same task. But when looking at a page like this, I tend to right click and I tend to go to inspect. That's my first call to arms. And so here you can see we have a few items. And when I originally looked at this, I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up everything and see what's inside. So to do that pretty quickly, I just do expand recursively here as well as here. And you can see they've actually kindly mentioned at the very top in this comment here, and you can tell it's a comment by basically the brackets and how the color the font's different. And here you can see that basically the stuff in the header has nothing to do with the level, which, okay, I'm not going to look at the header and waste my time, sifting through that. So I'm going to close that out and just look at the body instead. And in the body, you can see right away there's another comment. And as I mentioned, you can tell something is a comment, and you can see that it's not on the page based off these little dashes and brackets. And this isn't being shown on the page. So we know that this right here, this string of letters and numbers, that is going to be our flag. So what I'm going to do now is I have a notepad with all the flags saved for the levels I'm going to show you, so I don't have to waste my time copying and paste that. And we are going to basically go to next level. And to go to the next level, you just come in here and change 0 to 1. That takes you to level 1. So I'm going to paste in that flag, and it's going to take me to a new level. And this is the same thing that happened to me the first time, where I pasted in the new level and I stayed inside of the inspect page. And when you stay inside of the inspect page, most of the time it's going to just keep you here. So this didn't leave. This entire piece just stayed when I refreshed the page. And the level that was created, I'm assuming they thought that we would actually close out the inspect page and then go to the next level. Maybe people that are more, diligent in comparison to me would have done that. But I am not like other people. I'm the most lazy of the lazy. Sometimes. But when you do that, you realize that they've just left another flag right here. But let's say that we closed it. Let's say that we closed it and we played fair and we did what they thought we would do. So I'll close this and they say, okay, find the flag on this page, but you can't right click. And as you can say, when I right click, I just get an alert. It says, no right clicks allowed, you're lame. So to get to the inspect page without right clicking, you can do a few things. So you can do Control-Shift-I. So Control-Shift-I, it's going to open up Inspect as well. It's taken me the Application tab, but I can just jump right back to the Elements tab. Or you can go to the Options here, and you can go to More Tools, and you can go to Dev Tools here. It takes you to the same thing. So with that being said, we're going to go in here, and we're going to recursively open everything once again. And I don't really have to do this, but I'll do it anyways. And then you can see, as I mentioned previously, same place, same location, same idea. You got the flag there. So we're just going to copy and paste that flag into level 2 and move our way amongst the stars. Amongst the stars, internet. We're doing stuff. We're making strides. All right, so level 2 or level 3, because we started at 0. And fun fact, if you didn't know this, which you probably do, but I'm going to say it anyways, computers actually start counting at 0, not 1. Hence why we're on level 2, but in reality, in human meat minds, we're in level 3. Betcha I just blew your mind or bored you. Either way. All right, so next challenge. I'm going to close this out. There's nothing on this page. Okay, there's nothing on this page. Fair. I'll just go back to inspect, because every other time I went to inspect and the answer was here. And that was my thought process when I got to this level. And I was like, yeah, you're not going to get me, Mr. Natas or Mrs. But when looking at this, we can see there is no flag. There's no flag in the body. There's no comment. We're left cold in the cold. And here you can see there is a text that's basically on the page. We've already read this, but we can see there's an image tag. And inside of this image tag, there's a source, and it's coming from this location. So to be honest, I had no idea what this meant when I first saw it. So I clicked it and I was like, what's going on here? There's nothing going on here. So I started clicking on these tabs, looking around, saying, okay, there's nothing there. I saw there's an index page, which basically takes me to the same thing. I saw a file folder, open that up. Oh, there's a PNG, cool. But there's just a little decimal, like there's a little pixel. This little pixel, I thought to myself, like, maybe, just maybe, that's our answer. Then I thought, maybe if I get a microscope, really, really big microscope that's facing the wrong way, and then point it back to this pixel, it would give me my answer. But no. So then I actually thought about it and I said, okay, well, if this is a source, that means that it's coming from a location, right? Only reason I know this is because I did some HTML and CSS coding back in the day when I was trying to get into programming, but I realized that it was too hard. So I tried again now, and I'm getting into it because I did it the right way, which is through practice and not theory. And when I saw this, I said, okay, well, if that's the case, if I just copy this, come up here and extend the path, right? Because what this is this is basically just showing us a path built off of this URL. So if I color this in, so we have this path here. This is correlating right to this browser path. So this path is going to be basically add on to this. So we're going to basically say files, and then we're going to do another slash, and then pixel, et cetera, et cetera. And then that's going to take us to a new location. Because right now we're at this location. We're at the base slash. We're here. We want to get here. So to do that, we just copy and paste it in there, or you type it out. So let's just do files. Let's do files. So if you do files, right away it takes you to a new page. And here you can see the pixel image. So if I select that, it's going to take us to the base address that I told you. And this is the little pixel that we thought was our answer. But we realized that it wasn't, because once we got into files, we realized that there's a user text here. You select that, and you see, boom, Natas. These are the usernames, passwords. This is the structure of this basically little index. So if we select this, it's going to take us to our next level. Choose your own adventure, right? I wanted to go deep, but they just wanted me to go to user.text. And this is another thing I realized when I did this. So when I originally put in the password and the username, it automatically takes me to the next level, but it leaves me at this path. So what I need to do is I need to knock that out and go back to the base path so I can see what I need to see on that page. So we're presented with another challenge. There is nothing on this page, similar to the last one. What a coinkydink. So this time I'm going to do the same thing because I didn't learn my lesson the first time. So I'm going to keep inspecting forever. I'll inspect forever until you tell me not to. All right, so when looking at this, we have our text that we've already seen on the page. So this text is nothing new. We can see it right there. But this comment here, this one's a little newer. And one thing that jumped out to me after I researched it for like 45 minutes is that it says not even Google will find find it in this time, right? They'll never find us. Now, like I said, this took me probably 40 to 45 minutes to research. And my first question to myself was basically, how does Google find stuff in general? Like what is the process? And when thinking that through, I came across at first I thought to myself, okay, like how does Google work? And from what I understand how Google works, it's very rudimentary in my understanding because it's very, very complex. But in a nutshell, you have yourself here, right? It could be a girl or a boy, whatever. And you have your computer, and we have big G in the background, right? So this is Google, right? And we have all these other websites, and all these websites have links. So what Google's doing is basically it's scraping the web for all these links, right? And then it's sourcing it to you. And then you ask a question to Google, and it tells you tells you basically everything you need to know about your life. So that's you being happy on Google. And with that being said, if Google's sourcing all these websites, it's sourcing it from a certain location, and it has a certain format of scraping things. So as I kept on researching through this, I realized that there's this thing called robots.txt. And if I take you to this website here, you just type in robots.txt on Google's, very meta, it's going to take you to this blog. And this blog is basically going to explain to you that a lot of developers, when they develop their websites, they do a lot of different things. But one of the specific things that they do is they actually set up a certain file called robots.txt. And that file or that location encompasses a series of files. And it basically tells the Google man and the Google woman and all the other scrapers on the internet not to look in this location. And some developers think that this is a good idea to actually hide stuff, which it's not. It's definitely not. And Google makes that very pronounced here. So if you come to this bold section right here, Google's basically saying that, listen, this does not mean that people cannot get to your webpage through Google. What you're doing when you put things into robots.txt is really you're just trying to avoid overloading your site, right? With requests. You're basically trying to reduce the load on your site so you're not overwhelmed. Your servers aren't, max to the REM, and you have to pay a bunch of money or everything breaks. If you want to protect your website from people actually going to certain locations or folders and accessing certain things, they do recommend here to provide no indexed directives, or just put a password on it and a login page and say the only people that are allowed in here are the ones that that are authenticated and also authorized to do so. And with that being said, I said, okay, well, robots.txt is a thing, so how does it work? Scrolled down here, read more about it, did some more Googling on the Google machine, and realized that if I wanted to access this, all I would have to do is basically add an additional path here. So if I go to robots.txt, type that in, it's going to take me to a web page that's going to say there's a secret. Now, what's the secret? Well, we can see there's backslashes again, and this backslash here is a very common thing that we tend to do when we're trying to go to a certain path, especially with a browser URL. So I told myself, hey, a smart person would just copy and paste that in there, push enter. And then luckily I was a good guesser. And it brought me to this page, which is the secret folder path that has our secret for level 4. So if you select user text, takes you to this page, gives you the flag, and you're a winner. So we're going to basically delete that path so we're back at the base, and then we're going to put in 4, and this is going to be Natas 4, enter. It's going to take us to a new page. Cool. Look at us. We're making so much progress so quickly, but only if that 10 minutes we just spent was about 2 hours of me Googling stuff. Anywho, so this next one is going to be a little tricky. This one was tricky for me. So this one took probably a little longer than the others. I'd say a lot longer than the others, but I'm being kind to myself. What we're seeing here is this says access disallowed. And after that, it states that you're visiting from while authorized users, you're visiting from, quotes. While authorized users come only from this one. So I'm assuming the quotes are wrong. If I refresh this, it actually, don't know what that was about. So it's saying you're visiting from this location and authorized users can only visit this location from this location. All right, so this one was a tricky one because I kind of knew about robots.txt before the other challenge, but I kind of had to refresh my memory. This one, no idea. And after doing lots of Googling, I realized that there's this thing called a refer. So I'll quickly point you to this website. This is what I'm going to talk about, but instead of being distracted by text, I'm going to draw some more pictures because I got a pen and I'm going to use it. And it's okay. So every browser has this thing called a refer. So if I draw this R, that represents refer. So take the refer. And when you have a browser and you have multiple pages, so we say we're at site 1, right? So this is site 1, and then we have site 2. And we're going to click a link. So we have a bunch of text here, right? And then in here, there's a link that we select. So once you select this link, it's going to take you to this next site because that's what it's linked to. So what a refer link does, or refer kind of piece of a header, when you click this link and come here, this website knows where you came from, basically. They know the origin of the website you originated from. And inside of that is going to be basically something along these lines, this and a lot of other information. But in a nutshell, if you're coming from this location into this website, that means you have authorized access to look at something, or you're a certain person from a certain location, so they're going to give you certain advertisements and all that good stuff. Either way, that's what this is referring to. So basically what we need to figure out is how do we change this URL from this website before we go to this one without actually really clicking anything. So that was a challenge to figure out. But before we jump into showing you how I did that, I first want to show you this website here and show you kind of what they're explaining here. So at the very top, you can see this last sentence that really what this refer object does is it allows servers to identify where people are visiting, where they're visiting from, and which can they be used for analytics, logging, optimize, caching, etc. So that's what this exists for. But if you read a bit further, you can see that this refer header, that's what it's called, it's a refer header, and you can see that here. A refer header actually is no longer really in use in wide monks. So in the majority of websites that are in the modern era, they're not using something like this. They're actually neglecting that due to the fact that it has security flaws, and also there are other better ways of tracking people because we're all being tracked. Let's be honest. And in here, you can see, you can read more about the refer policy. So every single browser and every single website has this type of policy for the refers. So they say what they track, what they don't, what they're allowed to look at, and what they don't look at, etc. But if I close this out and I close this out, you can see there's actually a privacy and security concerns section. And this talks a lot about what I've just explained, but how it can be used for evil. And specifically, one thing that jumped out to me was that this piece down here, this example they've provided. And this example basically is stating that if you are a user for a website, whatever website that is, and you want to reset your password, sometimes when you reset your password, they send you a link. They send you a link to your email, they send you a link to somewhere else, and it's a reset password link. And this isn't always the case. There's always, corner cases, and there's gray areas, and there's obviously stuff I don't understand. But usually when you click this link, it's actually going to take you to a certain location. So say we have our link here, we click it, and it's going to take us to a website, and that website's going to say reset your password, right? Reset pass. And when you reset your password, you just click the link, you add in the stuff, and you're done. Like, it's finished, right? And that's what they're saying here, is that if someone can actually manipulate that URL and they can actually take that from you and select it themselves, they can change the password to whatever they want it to be, and they have access to your information. And there's many other reasons how this can be manipulated, not just changing your password, but also you can get access to unauthorized locations, which is actually what we're kind of trying to do here, right? We want to get access to this website, even though we're not actually the person coming from the right location. All right, I talked a lot, but I'm hoping that I explained that in a way that was understandable to you and you didn't have to be as confused as me. And the way that I tried to figure this out is when looking through different solutions and how you can change this section of your web browser, let me first actually show you where it is. So if I go to inspect and we actually open up the inspect section, you can see there's different consoles, like different tabs here. And if you go into the network tab, this is basically showing you what posts and gets are going across the network. So you as a browser, you're posting stuff to a database, or you're posting stuff to get requests, or you can be sending a GET request to get something, and it depends on the API you're using. It could be a GraphQL or REST API, whatever it is. But if we're here, we're going to refresh this, and as I refresh it, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff popping up here. And of these items being popped and showing you here, if you actually look into these and scroll down, you can see there's a general piece. You can see that there is a response header, so whatever's responding back to you, so that's the HTML and CSS and all the stuff you're getting back, as well as a request, so the request that you sent out. And the request that we sent out, we can see there's a refer section here. And this refer section is showing us exactly where we're coming from. So that's the Natas 4, and we want to change that Natas 4 to a Natas 5. And I can't tell you how long I sat here and clicked and right-clicked, and I was like, why in the hell can I change this and just refresh and fix it? But that's just not how it works. And there are really two ways I came across of doing this. So there's web browser extensions. So you can just have a browser extension that basically allows you to incorporate a thing, and you can change a refer. And that's used for many reasons, for people's privacy and things like that. But also there's this thing called Burp Suite, and Burp Suite is a thing that a lot of pen testers and bug bounty hunters and all that stuff use to do a lot of things. And I figured, since I want to learn this tool, because I do want to learn Burp Suite, I might as well use it for this specific really small activity, just so I have one notch in my belt of learning how to use Burp through a practical activity. So anyways, I'm not going to teach you how to use Burp in this video. That's not what this is about. But I'm going to quickly show you how I did it. So within Burp, you can open up your own little Burp browser, and this is a Burp browser that's being monitored through a proxy. And to quickly explain what that is if we look here, say we have Burp, we have a proxy, and then we have another browser. So let's just say this is Chrome, so we don't have BBC. And in each of these, so this is going to be a browser, this is a proxy, and this is our software. So inside of the software, I want to go to a certain location. So this is my target, right? And we're going to be sending stuff back and forth. So we're going to be sending gets, like I said, and posts back and forth, and everything is going to pass through this proxy here. And as it passes through this proxy, I'm going to be able to actually change certain items as it goes through there before it actually reaches the final destination, which is our browser here. So as it travels through here, I actually want to change that 4 to a 5. And when I change that 4 to a 5 through this proxy, it's hopefully going to trick this this browser to think that I came from this location, but in all reality, it came from this location. But that was prior to actually manipulating it through my browser. Or not my browser, but my proxy, sorry. So I want to show you how that looks. Like we got our proxy set up, we got our sketchy burp browser, and we got our burp software. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the original password to get into the other thing that I just showed you, the other challenge to get to this point. So if I put that in, you can see that it's caught. And so it's loading. It's waiting for me to forward this on through the proxy. So you can see this forward button. I want to forward it. It's gone through the proxy, and now we're back to our browser. And in here, if I refresh this, it's going to freeze again. But if I do forward, it's going to progress me forward. And I'm going to jump into this tab here to see the history of things that I've just clicked. And I want to quickly show you, if I scroll down to, let me find the right page. Refer here. So you can see this is a GET request, and you can see that within this section, this is our GET request, and this is the header of that GET request. You can see there's a refer section here. And what I want to do is I want to change this 4 to a 5. So I can't actually do that here, but if I do send this to a repeater and I go to the repeater section, I can come in here, I can change this 4 to 5, and then I can send that off to that section. And you can see that if I expand this out, we have our answer right here. So it says, congratulations, the password for Natas 5 is this one here. So I can copy and paste that in. And just to quickly show you what that looks like in the browser, I will request an original session. I'll copy that, and I will show you in here what that looks like, hopefully. I just have to forward it. Nice. So there is our answer, because we changed the refer originating origin to 5, so we got access to it. I hope you're proud of me, because I'm proud of me. All right, so go to 5, and we're going to do Natas 5. I promise you, when I figured that out, I was pretty pumped, because it took me a really, really long time to figure it out. Okay, so 5. Access disallowed. You are not logged in. So you're not logged in. What does that mean? I didn't know, but I knew that I needed to click around and do a lot of Googling. So I started looking around, and I saw that there was nothing here. So I started looking at the other tabs, because I showed you originally that the answer to the previous one was hidden inside of network. So I said, okay, well, maybe it's in here again. So I started playing around, realizing that there was really nothing here for me to look at. Even when I refresh it, I can see that not much of this is really of use. Looking through the request responses and looking through some of the headers and stuff, there doesn't seem to be much information here. So I told myself, okay, well, if that's the case, then I lied, because actually I just looked at this one, the index PHP, that request, and if you look under the request headers, you can see that there's a cookie that states that it's logged in equals 0. That's going to be sitting here. And if I correlate logged in to logged in, that is a hint, my friend. So I said, okay, well, the cookie, where's the cookie? Who ate my cookies? I don't know. So I Googled, where does a cookie sit inside of a browser? And I knew generally what a cookie was, like people track them and for advertisements and stuff, but I said, okay, well, where does it sit in the dev tools, and how does it exist and all that stuff? So I realized that it was inside of the application section, and you can see there's the cookies here with a beautiful little cookie icon. And here's our logged in value that has a value of 0. So the name of logged in has a value of 0. So I thought, okay, well, what if I change this to 1? And if I refresh the page, then it's going to say, okay, well, here's your answer. Easy bing. So that was that one took me a little while to figure out, but it didn't take me as long as the other one, to be honest. So we got our answer, and we found it was sitting in a cookie. And we might be at the end of our video, because this is lasting quite a long time. And this will be the last one, I suppose. So if we look at this, you can see that it says, I want you to input an answer, and you can see that the answers are saved in my my little save thingy, because, why not? And you can see all of my mistakes. So like these are a bunch of guesses. I was like, okay, well, maybe it's secret. If I put in secret, maybe it'll give me the answer. And it gives us no, the secret is not secret. So I said, all right, well, fine. Maybe it's a bracket. Came back and said, no, you idiot, it's not a bracket. I said, all right, fine. then I told myself, well, maybe I should click this link here that says view source code. So I clicked the link and it took me to the source code here. So when looking at this initially, I said, okay, well, remember when they said it wasn't in the header? So that means that basically all this stuff up here I can ignore. This is none of my business, at least for not right now. So then I saw a bunch of stuff here and I said, okay, well, any cool coder would look right at the code because, you know, coders, right? So I thought to myself, this is all that reading of those books and you know, and Python and machine learning and stuff and binary, this is going to totally help me out. So I started looking through this and I started trying to break down the code and saying, okay, what exactly is this doing and why does it exist and all that stuff. And as I was looking at this, I realized maybe I'm trying to look too hard at this. And I took a step back and I realized maybe if I would have just read this first line, I would have found my answer. Because if you look at this here, it's basically saying includes secret.inc. And what that's stating is that we need to include an item in here. So it's saying that inside of this inc file, inside of this path, there's going to be something special. So all I really need to do is look at this and then just go to that path, right? So if I go here and I, you know, delete everything because why not? I'll just copy and paste this here. And I'm going to copy and paste this into the URL path here, push enter, and it's going to take me to my secret. So if I just copy and paste the secret back into where I was originally, into the input box, because we know the secret is not secret, you push submit, it's going to give you your actual answer. And then there we go. So now we're going to jump into 7, right? We made it. We've officially made it. And if I do Natas 7, enter, we've made it to the next page. All right, internet. This is it. This is the end of the road for video 1 because I actually don't know the answer to the next one. So stay tuned to figure out if I figure out the answer to this this next challenge.